The following is an independently produced community access program. The viewpoints expressed are those of the community access producer and do not reflect those of Shaw Cable Systems. The program is presented in response to CRTC policy guidelines regulating community programming.
Hi folks, and welcome to Calling BS here on Shaw TV's Community Creations, the best sports talk show you're going to watch all week. On this show, myself, Brian Svensson, along with my good friend and co-host Sean Nandel, we critique and criticize 3 topics in sports for 4 minutes apiece every single week for your pleasure and enjoyment. Now, the way we make sure that we stay on topic for 4 minutes is we've got a timer here for us, down there for you guys, and as soon as that 4 minutes is up, we move on and right to the next topic. Some heated debates can go down, but that clock is the master of all. The 3 topics that we're going to talk about today: Jaro Halak gets signed by the New York Islanders, dashing any sort of fantasy hopes that Jets fans might have of them signing him. We're going to talk about the potential better fits that could fit here in Winnipeg instead of Halak. We're going to talk about the Canucks' new GM, Jim Benning, what he might do for the team and how it impacts their franchise going forward. And we're going to talk about the current labor dispute that is going on in the CFL. Now with that, let's get started, Sean. Jaro Halak signs with the New York Islanders for a little under $5 million a year. And so, of course, all Jets fans now disappointed as the Islanders have locked up what is essentially a second-tier starting goaltender. Yeah,
absolutely, and it didn't cost them much to do it too. They only gave up a low 4th-round pick. It's a pick they got from Chicago, so it's going to be a low 4th-round pick for a guy who could be their starting goalie for the next 4 years, and he should be a pretty good one. That's the area they wanted to shore up. Evgeny Nabokov is not getting any younger. You got Kevin Poulet and Anders Nilsson after that, so there wasn't a heck of a lot there. They needed to shore that up. They have, at the very least, a good stopgap solution until they can draft and develop someone behind him. I like that signing. 4 years, $18 million, so a $4.5 million cap hit. I'm sure a lot of teams wish they could have been proactive about this because the Islanders didn't have to give up much, and this is one of the few good moves they actually made.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, like, if you take a look at all the rest of the goaltenders that are going to be coming into the free agent pool, Halak definitely is the best one.
Right.
In my opinion, of the goaltenders hitting free agency. Of course, you're going to have Ryan Miller, who was looking to be the crown jewel of that goaltending free agency crop until his very poor showing in this year's playoffs. Other guys that we'll see on the free agent market that teams could look at, of course, being Jonas Hiller from the Anaheim Ducks, Evgeny Nabokov from New York, who will definitely be seeing free agency now. Ilya Bryzgalov from the Minnesota Wild. Of course, they have Darcy Kemper and Josh Harding there, so not really needing him in that mix. Thomas Vokoun, because I'm sure that the Pittsburgh Penguins would like to explore other options. Ray Emery from the Philadelphia Flyers, and J.S. Jaguar from the Colorado Avalanche. All of those guys, in my opinion, still better than Ondrej Pavelec. Yeah. Now, of course, the Blues are looking at that situation and thinking that Elliott is more of a stopgap based on his previous performances. He's been good at times, he's been bad at times, but they really believe in this Jake Allen kid, so they're grooming him. So we'll see Elliott take the starting job this year, probably more of a timeshare the year afterwards, with Allen moving into the full on starting job maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. Of course, it's just a shame to see with this crop of goaltenders hitting the free agent market, probably the best in recent memory, especially since the 2004 lockout. This just baffles me that the Jets, Kevin Cheveldayoff, goes ahead and claims Ondrej Pavelec the starter when they have guys coming up, you know, from their own systems. You have Hutchinson, who has been outstanding in St. John's this playoffs. You've got Comrie, who is getting older, more mature, and of course that American goaltender that they just drafted and are bringing in. With this list of guys who have stopgap written all over them, that are solid goaltenders, that could serve a solid purpose in this organization for 2-3 years until those guys are really solid and ready to go. Why? Why are they sticking with Ondrej Pavelec?
Yeah, Chevy really missed the boat on that one. And he said it a couple days after some people had to renew their season tickets, including yours truly here. Boy, was I ever disappointed in hearing that. I would have renewed anyways, but it kind of feels like I'm being
Swindled?
Swindled, yeah, exactly. I was going to say something else that might have been a bit inappropriate, but yeah, swindled is a nice way to put it. That's how I feel.
Fair enough. And all right, moving on to the next topic. The Canucks signed new GM Jim Benning, who is the former assistant GM of the Boston Bruins. He is now the Canucks' 11th general manager. What do you look from him? How is he going to change the Canucks franchise going forward? Is this a good move, a bad move?
Time will tell. Obviously, he learned from Peter Chiarelli for the last 7 years, so that's a good guy to learn from, because Chiarelli did a nice job of turning the Bruins around from doormats into Stanley Cup champions within about 5 years. I feel bad for the situation that Benning is walking into. It's not a good situation. You don't have goaltending. You did a year ago, but Mike Gillis made sure to ruin that plan. You have an aging core of players on defense and a forward with inflated contracts who are locked into long-term deals. No trade clauses, no movement clauses. It's going to be difficult to move them. And also, too, you have the Aquilini family, who are a little too hands-on with that team sometimes. And we've seen it with other franchises. We just talked about the Islanders. And you also see it with the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Owners do not make good GMs.
Not terribly. They have their mind too much on the money of things, I think. But there might be some interesting things going forward. Of course, Jim Benning believes very much in a fast-tempo game, learning from Peter Chiarelli. We both seem to think that he'll likely ship Ryan Kessler right before the draft for either young players or draft picks, prospects, etc., which could be a step in the right direction. I think that moving Kessler would give them kind of the ability and space to look at sort of a semi-rebuild like we see going on in Detroit.
Right.
You know, it's not a full-on rebuild, but you see them bringing up more and more new players. They still have some core of the old guys. You're looking at you know, of course, the Datsyuks and the Kronwalls and the Zetterbergs of that team. But then you've got guys like Gustav Nyquist, who had one hell of a season. Thomas Tatar is looking like another good young piece for them. You could see them, I could easily see the Canucks having that sort of rebuild where you take those core pieces that they have with those big contracts that are scoring, cycling in or kind of weaving in young talent that they get from these draft picks, these prospects that they could get from a Ryan Kessler trade that could really change the face of the franchise. Of course, we both agree that they have to go out and find some goaltending, but as we just mentioned, goaltending's out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would agree with your assessment. I think a full-blown rebuild is necessary. The Sedins are not Datsyuk and Zetterberg, especially come playoff time. And the Canucks don't really have much coming down the pipeline, although a Kessler trade could certainly restock the cupboards a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree with you on that. I mean, the Sedins, not great playoff players, but at the same time, they put up more points combined than just about any other tandem in the NHL.
Not this season.
Minus Crosby, and but I mean, you got to heap some of that on Tortorella.
The coaching, he overplayed them.
Yeah, he absolutely overplayed them and tried to get them to play a style of hockey that wasn't equal to them. These guys are still two of the top scorers in the NHL. Not this past season, but they've proven that they can do it in past seasons. Which, I'd rather have Zetterberg and Datsyuk, but at the same time, you can't say that the Sedins aren't in the same realm, the same category as those two guys in terms of a pair. You know, if I'm given the opportunity to build around the Sedins, they're still not old. They're still, they still have hockey left in them. I'd be thrilled and enthralled to have the opportunity to rebuild around those two guys. I think it's entirely possible.
No, I wouldn't want to build a team around those guys. You talked about the past. That's exactly what it is, the past. They're getting older. We don't know if they can still do that or not. I wouldn't hold my breath. I still think a full-blown rebuild is necessary.
I disagree.
Well, Calgary was in denial too. How did that work for them?
But I don't think that Vancouver's in denial here. I mean, they're completely, I think that they're on the right track. Not right track, but I think they could be. 4 minutes is up. We're done talking about that. Moving on, of course, the CFL pulled out of talks on May the 29th, the last day of the current bargaining agreement. labor talks. So it looks like they're either going to lock the players out or there's going to be a strike. I'm not entirely sure what's going to go down, but the basis of this is that the players want more money. They believe that because the CFL signed a new TV deal worth $40 million a year with TSN, which is over 100% increase from their previous $15 million a year deal. So they want more money, and I don't necessarily blame them. They want revenue sharing, whereas the league seems to be offering a 9 to 12% increase in salaries. Of course, the current average in CFL salary is $83,000 a year, not a bad wage. However, the minimum salary is $45,000 a year, which, you know, it's better than the average wage.
Yeah.
Of course, these guys have much shorter careers than either you or me or most average people would. What do you make of this situation? Do you think they can solve this before the season starts? Are the players going to actually have enough gumption to hold out?
I'm not sure, because they already seem to be backing off slowly on some of their demands. Ricky Foley from the Riders said they pretty much dropped off on the revenue sharing idea. They've backed away from that. The PA has supposedly going to ask the players to show up to training camp as a sign of good faith, which seems to me kind of trying to hide some weakness perhaps there in their bargaining position that they have. I don't think they have much to stand on, quite honestly. They can't afford to sit out for too long. They're not making much more than the average Joe. This isn't one of the 4 major professional sports leagues in North America. It's not millionaire NHL players or whoever who can sit around for a few months and still be fine financially. These guys are depending on this income. A lot of the guys, they're depending on this income. And I think they'll cave fairly quickly.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. These guys just can't afford to sit out. You know, with some of the guys sitting on $45,000 a year, with not a second job, right? Like this is their job, and they're saving every penny that they can for their retirement, or hopefully saving every penny they can for their retirement. I just can't see the guys sitting out. I think they deserve the money, though.
Oh, I would agree with that.
I mean, getting paid $45,000 a year, you are the 6th major sport in North America.
Yeah.
You know, the drop off from the NFL to the CFL is huge, and despite the fact that the CFL might have been in bad, like not as good financial status 10 years ago as they are today, they are doing quite a bit better. There is more interest in the league than there has been in years, and it's trending upward. And I think the players 100% deserve that money. So I agree that they should be standing. I just don't think that they have a leg to stand on.
That's the thing. I would agree with you. They do deserve a raise, but there isn't much to bargain with, unfortunately. And I guess what the league would argue too is, I would agree with you that the league is certainly better off financially than what it was, say, 15, 20 years ago. Because during the 90s, the CFL almost died out, and the early 2000s were a bit touchy as well. The thing is, in the West, it's very healthy. In the East, it's a pretty murky picture over there.
I mean, if Bon Jovi and those boys move the Bills to Toronto, I can't see the Argos lasting really long, because Toronto's a big town and they think they're big, and they think that the CFL's beneath them, especially if they get an NFL team. A really big point I want to point out here is if the players do end up striking, or the teams do lock them out, it's going to seriously affect the Blue Bombers, who owe the city over $4 million a year.
Yeah.
Of course, their first payment having to come in this year. So yeah, if they miss a season, there's no way they're making that payment.
Yeah, and Hamilton lost $7 million last year, so they need money too.
Yeah, exactly. We are out of time for today, so I just want to thank everybody for joining us. It was a heated episode, much more so than usual. But we certainly enjoyed doing this for you, and we want to thank you guys for watching, because without you guys watching at home, we wouldn't be doing this. Of course, we are on Shaw TV's Community Creations Television. I want to thank Sean. I want to thank our great cameraman, Darren Marash, and Shaw for putting us up here. You can catch us at least once a week, probably more than that if you just check us out. Set your PVR recordings, because I know you've all got them at home. And have a great week.
The proceeding was an independently produced community access program. The viewpoints expressed are those of the community access producer and do not reflect those of Shaw Cable Systems. The program is presented in response to CRTC policy guidelines regulating community programming.